recognition of and appreciation for the Christ life within each of us and the presence of the divine in our gathering. Now please recite the affirmation of living water unity with me. Living water unity is a thriving spiritual community, inspired to embrace and share our abundant good now. I am empowered for joyful living by expressing God in each moment. Now we have our announcements. There are events coming up very soon. Several addresses, times, dates, phone numbers, email addresses are included in the announcements. If you are watching us on Zoom, that will be in your newsletter. And there's a bulletin available for you here if you're here. So there will be an informal farewell party for Reverend David Ridge that will take place Sunday, September 26th at 1 p.m. So join us for cake, water, and joviality. Now that's the food that will be served. So if you want anything else, just bring your own. It's at Ralston Central Park, which is at the north side of Ralston at Garrison, in the shaded picnic area near the playground, across the street from Pizza Hut. So that information should be available to you. It's also across from the bridge at Brooks Drive in Everett. Please RSVP to sanstan, SANSTAN 41 @gmail.com. The celebration of life for Betty Charles, our beloved long-term founding mother, will be on Saturday, October 16, 2021, at Three Sons Italian Restaurant. That's 14805 West 64th Avenue, Unit C, from 11:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. For this, you RSVP to Betty's daughter. You can see maybe why we have all this information for you. I don't expect you to memorize and write it all down at the moment. It's her daughter, Geraldine, and you can text her at 720-988-5711 or call 303-279-5454. I don't know if I need to read it all because it is impossible for you to remember this as I read it, but the information is available. The Sunday service on September 26th, that's a week from today, will be virtual only on Zoom. So we will not be in the building. We will all be getting together on Zoom. That's at 10:30 a.m. And the guest speaker is Dr. Jane Simmons. So the talk title will be The Survival of the Kindest. Then the following week, not next week, but the following one, will be live again. So that will be October 3rd. So that is our announcements. Does anyone have anything to add to that? I think we're good. So now we will have our call to worship with Doug Roche. Love is flowing like a river.
Before we start, Kay.
Oh, it's too late.
Go ahead.
Oh, go say.
I was just going to say that email for Sandy is all lowercase. SANSTAN 41.
Okay. So rest here in the presence of the divine. Know that this presence surrounds you at all times, in all circumstances. You will never be abandoned. Allow your consciousness to be enfolded in this love, surrounded by this peace. Claim this joy as your own. You are an essential part of the universe, more powerful than you realize. You are necessary, as each star is necessary to balance the cosmos. Always be certain of this. Always hold these words in your heart. I am worthy. I am valuable. I am grateful for all that I am. Amen. And now is the time where we may offer our personal prayers. I do not know if, okay. And normally on Zoom or when we're all in person, each person offers their own prayer. But since they would not be heard on Zoom, I will read the prayers. And if you have a prayer from Zoom, please enter it in the chat, and we will see that that prayer is offered too. This is for Doug, for health. I don't see who has offered the prayer, but it's for severe problems with dialysis. We offer that prayer. And so it is. This is a prayer for strength, patience, and harmony. There is no name, but let's offer that prayer. And so it is. For Rose, strength in travel, prosperity, patience, and peace. Also, please bless their contract on the duplex. And so it is. For Coletta, health, strength, and housing. And so it is. For the Kenyan people, harmony in the country, resources. And so it is. Mary and Shannon, wife and daughter of Doug, who died from COVID. And so it is. For Rachel and Tim's nieces, Lisa, her cancer surgery, and Angie, her cancer treatment. And so it is. We also have Unity's affirming prayer. We rest in the awareness that God's love has no end and is a power that knows no bounds. God's healing power of divine life is restoring, healing, and revitalizing our world and our lives in this very moment. We let go of any fears or anxieties, affirming that divine order is now, has always been, and will always be at work in our lives. We bless our global family with the vision of fulfilling and empowering relationships, filled with an abundance of love. We express our own divinity in all we think, say, and do. And now, Doug Roche will join us. Pardon me? That's interesting. I apologize. Second time. Third time may be the charm. The daily word will be offered to us by Chris Gabrielson. Thank you. Today is Sunday, September 19th, 2021. Today's word is freedom. Our affirmation is, living from my divine nature frees me. Sometimes I feel limited when I don't think I have enough time, money, space, education, or experience. These thoughts can occupy so much space in my mind that I begin to think limitation is the truth of life. The greater truth is that I am free to express all the love, wisdom, and strength of the divine, as only I can. What joy and liberation it is to know that nothing can separate me from my true spiritual nature. If I believe any circumstance in my life or any of my past actions obstruct or delay my spiritual progress, I now release that belief. Embracing and living from the divine presence, the Christ within me, I claim freedom from all limitation. Our scripture is Acts 17:28. In him we live and move and have our being. Thank you, Chris. And now, Doug Roche will offer a tune that he has prepared for us. Doug.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to stick with my autumn theme this week, since it's been feeling like autumn lately, except not during the day. Beautiful tune from 1934 by Vernon Duke entitled Autumn in New York. Thank you.
Thank you, as usual, Doug. Sounds pretty wonderful in here, even with old speakers and everything. It sounds good. Thank you. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today, Paula Langus-Ryan. Paula's joined us a few times before in the past, and it's very good to see her again. She's an ordained independent unity minister, mediator, and communications consultant. Her work is based on the teachings of unity, A Course in Miracles, Lessons in Truth, Science of Mind, Divine Science, and other New Thought teachings. She provides prayer support, conflict counseling, and financial budgeting strategies to those seeking a change in perception and inner peace in all areas of their lives. Please welcome Paula.
Hello, hello, hello. It's good to see you all. It's good to see all you. I feel like I'm at a church cafe. It's kind of nice. I like this. Somebody asked me, it was the Uber driver asked me this morning how long I'd been in Colorado. So I've been in Colorado for 11 years. 11 years, I think. And I remember when I used to first drive up toward the Rollinsville area outside of Boulder, that there was this building and had a little sign out front that said, "Bloom where you are planted." It didn't say, "Grow where you're planted," right? It said, "Bloom where you're planted." So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to learn how to claim our true power in this, seemingly illusionary issue that we're having with power-hungry people in our world, right? We did a poll for people to pick what topic they wanted me to speak on. This was the topic most people picked. So all three of them. No, just kidding. So we're going to look at why we think we're powerless. Okay? Why do we think we're powerless? We think we lack control in our lives. How many people think that they lack control in some area of their life right now? Excellent. Almost unanimous. The others are taking notes. We feel that we are disempowered, like just nothing is within our control, right? Everybody else gets to tell us what to do or not do, okay? And we feel disrespected, which is sort of like a subset of disempowered. Like guys don't ever say, "I'm scared." They never say they're afraid of something. They say, "I'm worried, I'm concerned." So guys don't say, "I feel disempowered." They say, "I feel disrespected," right? All the guys are like, mm-hmm. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is, first off, looking at where this disempowerment comes from, right? Because is it really us that's disempowering ourselves? Never, right? I never disempower myself. That was good. That was good. So it's those people, right, who are disempowering me. Or I lack something. It's not my fault, but I don't have enough of this, or I don't have enough that, or they're not letting me have enough this or that, or they don't give me enough this or that, right? It's always that outer focus. Or my personal favorite, we want something to change. I will feel better if blank changes. Show of hands. Who've said that in the last day, right? Last hour. I'll feel better if this changes. Because then I'll feel what? I'll feel safe and loved. Isn't that what we really want? We want to know we are safe and loved, and for some reason we think we're not. Okay, and we'll get to that part. And then what I love is, just as a little aside, so we want things to change, right? I want you to stop doing what you're doing, and then I'll feel better. And you need to start doing what I want you to do, and then I'll feel better, right? But at the same time, how many of you don't like change? Great big oxymoron, right? It's like, wait a minute, I want you to change, but guess what? We do have power over ourselves. And in particular, we have power over our thoughts. So that's what we're going to talk about, right? So I want you to own this. I want to feel safe and loved. Let's hear it. I want to feel safe and loved. Okay. That's what we all want, right? But what do we think? We think other people aren't safe or loved. right? So then we have to protect, we have to defend, we have to get our armor on, right? But if we remember that we're all one, what do we really need to do? Remember that we're safe and loved. That's the only thing we need to do, is remember we're safe and loved. My first ever, and I see I have someone from Florida, groups of people who actually will know the person I'm referencing, but my first Unity church was in Severna Park, Maryland. It's called Unity by the Bay. First Unity I ever set foot into. And the minister there is a wonderful minister named Judith Elia. And she was my first minister, and she had a sign on her wall, and it was a saying she would say over and over again: nothing can disturb the calm peace of my mind. Say that with me. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my mind. Unless, of course, we choose to let it. So I give everything I see, right? Course in Miracles, I give everything I see all the meaning it has for me. Nothing can make me feel unsafe or unloved unless I choose to let it. And it's okay if you want to choose to let it. I'm very big on personal choice. If you want to choose to feel unsafe or unloved at any point in time today, feel free. Even here. Even when I put you on the spot, right? So think about people in history who've embodied this. Nelson Mandela, incarcerated for how many decades? Yet he decided that he was what? The captain of his ship. He was in charge of how he felt every single day, no matter what was happening. And then, when he gets elected president of South Africa, does he then decide, okay, now I get to have retribution for all the times people made me feel unsafe and unloved, and all my peeps and everybody? No. He said there will be no retribution. There will be no revenge. It was all our job to make sure we ourselves felt safe and loved. Lost Boys of Sudan. Just last night we watched the movie The Good Lie with Reese Witherspoon about the children who walked in. Not just lost boys, there were lost girls too, but who had been children soldiers, who hiked almost 1,000 miles to get to a part of Kenya where there was a camp run by the UN, and then lived there for over a decade, from being small children to adults, before they became refugees here in the United States. Yeah, but they chose to see it as just part of the unfolding of what do we have to do today to feel safe and loved, no matter what was happening. Bullets flying at you, people dying, dead children's bodies rolling down the river, right? So we get to decide that. Now, we like to think we know best. Yes, how many people here know best about something? One of my favorite Course in Miracles lessons is lesson 24. And I'll read it so I make sure I say it completely correctly. I do not perceive my own best interest. All together now. I do not perceive my own best interest. Which means, guess what? We don't know what's best for anybody else either. So let me read the actual first 3 lines of that lesson. In no situation that arises do you realize the outcome that would make you happy. Therefore, you have no guide to appropriate action and no way of judging the result. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation. And that perception is wrong. Not partially mistaken. When we had our center at the gathering, I did a 3-day lock-in, a goals-getting lock-in called Why Not Now? And so the first night, I had everybody write down, all the goals they wanted to set for themselves and all this good stuff. And the first thing the next morning, I read them lesson 24. People were throwing stuff. People were pissed off. They're like, okay, well, if I don't know my own best interest, I don't know what goals are really going to be best for me. Why did you have us do this for hours last night? Because I like to torment you, that's why. Just be honest, right? So we do not know our best interest. So how could we possibly know what's best for anyone else? For a family member, for a neighbor, for anyone in the city, anyone in the state, anyone in the country, anyone in the world, anyone in the universe, the galaxy, and on and on and on and on, right? We don't even know what's best for the folks in the UFOs if there's people in the UFOs. And I say people, in the general term. So one thing that I have learned to do to sort of start to claim that power of the not knowing, because not knowing is so powerful. Say this, ready? I know nothing. But you have to do it with the hands. I know nothing. Isn't that freeing? Like someone comes up and they're like, so how do I do that? How do I do this and that and the other? I know nothing. Well, what do you think about this, that, and the other? Is this good? This is bad? I don't know. I know nothing. Practice it. Do it again. I know nothing. Isn't that great? That's your only answer, right? Another great answer if someone else is trying to tell you what's best for you, since we already know we don't know. So, if Trinity wants to tell me what's best for me, what am I going to say? Am I going to argue with her? No. I'm going to say, you may be absolutely right. And if someone wants to argue with something that, when I forget and offer instructional advice, because I know everything, I'm a Leo, so of course I know what's right. Not. I may be completely wrong about this. I can see all the guys are like, you want me to do what? How many people know what the hardest 3 words are in the English language for a man to say? I don't know. I was wrong is good too, but I don't know. Yeah. Most people are like, I love you. No, it's not. I don't know. It's definitely harder. Thank you for owning that. So, just being a unity center and all, I wanted to talk about the 12 powers of man, because if we're going to talk about powers, right, we got to go with Charles Fillmore. And so, to claim true power, to claim that faculty of power, you first have to bring together 3 of the minor major faculties, right? You've got faith, you've got love, and you've got judgment. Faith is Peter, love is John, judgment is James. So, what kind of judgment, though? Right? I've done my judgment, or we like to say, I'm not judging, I'm discerning. But what are we really discerning with? Are we discerning and judging the way Solomon did, for example? Or are we discerning and judging from facts or information gathered from other people, information that sways us emotionally in some way, right? We're picking and choosing instead of divine judgment, divine discernment, which is from that space of love, from that space of wisdom. So we want, what do people want? To feel safe and loved, okay? So if we judge based on the inner motivation, if we knew that the person we're in conflict with right now just wanted to feel safe and loved, how would we respond differently? How would we present ourselves differently? What would our tone of voice be? The words we use, our attitude, our posture. Like my favorite thing when hands on hips, right? Or crossed arms, that's another good one. Or the head tilt. Yeah, I'm not judging you. I'm not saying a word, right? 1,000 words of the picture of your body language, right? Or the, right? Or the personal favorite of teenagers everywhere, right? Whatever. My son's over there going, I don't say that. In sign language, does anyone know how to say whatever? I learned that. I was at a park outside of Gallaudet University decades ago, and these 2 girls were having this argument, and one of them was hearing and one was not, and finally the deco just went and walked away, and I was like, excuse me, what did she just say to you? So that's my favorite thing. Whatever. So if you want to learn that, that's a good one. Okay, so what we want to do is judge based on 3 things. Inspiration, intuition, the divine intuition, and our inner wisdom. So how are we going to do that? Okay. How do we tap? I was going to say trap. How do you trap your true judgment? How do you tap your true judgment? How do you get into that inner wisdom? So we go back to the triangle, right? The Holy Trinity. The faith, judgment, I'm laughing because Trinity's here. The faith, judgment, and love, right? So to activate that, you need the faculty of power, which is Philip, a wonderful faculty. And that Philip governs our throat. So whatever words are coming out, whatever the intention of our words, if I want to persuade someone, if I want to guilt someone, if I want to bring someone around to my way of thinking, if I want to tell somebody what's right or what's wrong, based on, the Gospel of Paul. We each have our own gospel. Did you know that? Isn't it wonderful? The gospel of us is whatever we've decided is right for everybody else. Because the gospel of Paula doesn't mean, do as Paula does. It means do as Paula says. Right? Isn't that our gospel? You should meditate 20 minutes every day. Yeah. And as soon as I do that, then we'll all be doing it. Yes? Okay, so this calls forth our personal power, right? So are we speaking from places of empowerment or places of disempowerment? Are we in that space where we're like, you need to change your behavior, and then Chris will be happier? See, Chris is agreeing with me. And then now she'll go home and she'll be like, now Paula said. So where are we speaking from? What are our thoughts? Are we willing to recognize, I just want to feel safe and loved, but I want somebody else to make me feel safe and loved. So I want all these other people to change their behaviors so I will feel safe and loved, or so my loved ones will feel safe and loved, or so this person from this other group will feel safe and loved, right? We keep doing the projection out there. So how do you know if those words you're speaking are coming from those good places? Check yourself before you say anything. Am I saying this because I want to be right, or I want to defend myself from someone who thinks I'm wrong? Check in. Am I focused on a sense of someone keeping me from something? I'm saying this because you need to do something so that I can go out and do these things, or so that I don't have to do these things. Look at what that payoff is. My payoff is I get to do something, or I don't have to do something. And the minute I can identify, I'm trying to speak to you from a place of guilting you into giving me my payoff, or coercing you into giving me my payoff, or bribing, whatever words we want to use, right? Okay. Then are we focused on those things, which are the disempowering things, or are we focused on the oneness? Are we focused on remembering they just want to feel safe and loved? Now, their version of safe and loved may be vastly different than mine, or it may be identical to mine. We like to build coalitions, yes? My favorite thing is when people will say to me, so I think this, that, and the other. Don't you agree? Do you agree? You should agree, right? If you really loved me, you'd agree. I like the laughters of recognition. This is good. Are we focused on the knowledge, the actual knowing that every conflict arises from us trying to get something or avoid something? And are we willing to deep dive and look at it? Are we willing to recognize, and laugh about it? Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what my ego wanted to do right now. My ego wanted to say this so that you would do this. Or stop doing that. Right? That's what we want. So what we're going to do instead is refocus. How many people have ever looked through binoculars, a telescope, microscope? So what's the first thing you have to do? You have to focus it. Okay, you really got to bring it down. So we're going to talk about a little known area, because how many people here actually own a Bible? I have multiple ones in multiple languages. When was the last time you actually looked at your Bible? Yesterday, there we go. I like that. How many people have a Bible that has the Apocrypha? A handful, okay. So we're going to talk about because it's so fitting right now, a little known book in the Bible called Second Esdras. And that's Esdras, Esdras. Not to be confused with Ezra, which some people think he actually was, but he wasn't, supposedly. I don't know. I don't know, right? Because I know nothing. You know, next time someone says to you, I don't like so-and-so, do you say, I don't know, I don't know? Someone once told me how much they hated Oprah Winfrey. And they're like, don't you hate Oprah Winfrey? And I was like, I don't know, I've never met the woman. I don't know her. You know? So we're going to talk about second Esdras. Now, the Apocrypha, the word Apocrypha means hidden sacred writings. Okay? And Esdras was known, and Charles Fillmore talks about it a little bit in 12 Powers. He was known as the person who, a lot of the biblical writings were actually lost, and he was the one who rewrote them, supposedly. I don't know. I wasn't there. So I go with the word. So Esdras, second Esdras in particular, deals with the entire problem of human suffering that was going on back in his day and time. And it was, like I was reading some of it out loud, I was like, wow, this sounds a lot like what's going on in the world right now. You know, it was fascinating. But what's funny is Esdras is questioning. He's just very inquisitive. And he's not judgmental. He knows that there's a better way than what humans are doing. Like we've forgotten how to love each other kind of thing. Lots of divisiveness. And so he appeals to God, and God brings an angel, which is the angel Uriel. And for those who are into angelic stuff, Uriel represents wisdom, angel of wisdom. Okay? So what happens is he sees there's this pattern, and he wants to break the pattern. He keeps being sent off for 5 days at a time to take things into prayer and over and over and over again, and getting closer to having a solution to break this pattern of powerlessness. So the angel Uriel tells him to gather, this is in chapter 14, second Esdras, for anybody who wants it, particularly 22 through 26. Uriel instructs him to separate himself from all worldly things, basically go off into a big field, so the wide open consciousness, metaphysically speaking, right? And to gather 5 men, take these 5 particular men with him. And of course, men represent our intellectual thoughts. So here are the attributes of these 5 men. I'll give you their names as best as I can pronounce them. So there's Seraiah, S-E-R-A-I-A-H, who is the thought of dominion. So here Ezra just is claiming his divine power, right? Then Dibri, which are the eloquent thoughts, so the ones coming from the heart and that are easy to understand. Then Shelemiah, thoughts that deeply sense our security and wholeness, the thoughts that I'm safe and loved. Ethan, the thoughts that have a firm, strong root in divine consciousness, so it can express that. And last but not least, Asiel, A-S-I-E-L, the inner revealed knowledge that man is in reality spiritual. Who knew that the Apocrypha was like the best unity book ever, right? Okay. So 40 days this time. Uriel says, you got to go out with these guys for 40 days. But it's not just 40 days of sitting there twiddling his thumbs, playing video games, binge watching Facebook or HGTV or anything like that, or every kind of news source you can possibly find, right? Or talking to all of our friends about what's wrong with the world. No, got to go away from all people, places, things, everything that encourages you to see something wrong with the world. Every place where you think something has power over you. All of those places. 40 days. Who's in it? Who wants to join in the 40-day wilderness fasting? There's like very few hands went up over there. How about at home? Yeah, not so many. I'm seeing a lot of head shakes. Not gonna happen. But this is what this looks like. For 40 days, as you're stepping back from all that, you're stepping into something else. And even if you only do the stepping into part to start with, that'll be enough. Tell everybody else you meet, you are safe and you are loved. 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 Feel that. Now put your hands on your heart and say it with me. I am safe and I am loved. I am safe and I am loved. Again, I am safe and I am loved. Feel that. No matter what's going on in your world, that's the truth. Whenever you feel like you're going to have a difficult conversation with someone and your power is just like leaking all over the place, I am safe and I am loved. And then you meet other people who are upset about something, worried about something, want you to change something. You've got this. Practice that. You've got this. Turn to someone, tell them, you've got this. You've got this. You've got this. And when we're in our know-it-all phase, does anyone here ever get in their own know-it-all phase? It's my favorite phase. Say something like, I know you'll do whatever's right for you. I know you'll do whatever's right for you. Because how often are we just like, oh, I cannot believe that person's going to do that. That is so not going to turn out well for them. No, here's the truth. Wow. I would not be courageous enough to do what it is they're about to do. Isn't that the truth? But we're like, oh my God, they're going to do that. Oh, this is going to wind up really horrible. Or then I'm going to have to step in and change something, fix something, right? Fixers? Anybody here in the Fixers Anonymous group that we're going to have after class here, after church? Reforming. It's the Reforming Fixers Anonymous Church. Reformed Fixers Anonymous. Okay, so how did things work out for Esdras? Yeah, he goes out there for 40 days, separated him from every kind of non-divine thinking, filled himself up with his mind focused only on those 5 top types of intellectual thoughts. No judging, no right from wrong, no fixing thoughts, right? All about our divinity. Almost immediately, in this new state of consciousness, he found himself freed from error thinking. This is how quickly it can change when you focus on those 5 types of thoughts. And he found himself consumed with a positive, affirmative state of mind. You know, and then someone, of course, always comes along and says, you're just being Pollyannish, right? Or my favorite, I worked for a publishing company once where the woman who worked next to me looked at me one time and went, you find something good in everything. I was like, I thought that was a good thing. Okay, so he found himself in his right mind, firmly in his spiritual nature, for lack of a better word. Spiritual nature. And then this is from 2nd Esdras 40. I can do 4? 40. Okay. My mind began, oh, and I used the Oxford Study Edition for anyone. It's like, where's the these and thous, right? So my mind began to pour forth a flood of understanding and wisdom grew greater and greater within me, for I retained my memory unimpaired. And what is the memory that gets retained? That God and I are one. That there is no separation. That everything is happening in divine order. What's that movie about India where the young man says, you know, everything will be all right in the end? If it's not all right, it's not the end. People always say, well, I'll stop worrying if I knew how everything was going to turn out. Hi, I'm psychic. Ready? I'm going to tell you. Whatever it is that you're thinking, you know, I wonder how it's going to turn out. You know, I'll feel better. If I knew I'll feel safe and loved, it's all going to turn out fantastic. Okay, now you know, so you don't have to worry anymore. Okay? Good. Okay. So, so Esdras spoke truth for 40 days, you know, because he went out there with these 5 guys that were the subscribers, the scribes. And the scribes wrote down his words. So embedding that consciousness in our everyday life, right? And they took turns, of course, so they didn't wear themselves out. But in the end, Esdras, 40 days. Any creative people here? Anybody got a book in them? In 40 days, anybody want to guess how many books Esdras wrote? 94. 94 books. And what's fascinating was Uriel told him that the first 20 were, the first 24 were supposed to be made public. They could be shared with all of our thoughts. Because they were like the ground rules for how to hold this consciousness. The other 70 books were supposed to be hidden, to be given to none of the thoughts that we have, but the wisest of our thoughts. And to this day, no one knows what's in those 70 books, or do they? A topic for another talk, right? So when our thoughts of powerlessness come up, or the seeming power grab of others seems to be creeping into our consciousness, that someone's trying to take something from me, keep me from doing something, whatever, right? When that creeps in, we're going to do stop, drop, and roll. Everybody familiar with that? Pants are on fire, you stop, drop, and roll, right? Okay, it's a different kind of one. Okay, stop all thoughts of separation. And you know, we already contain the Holy Trinity within ourselves all the time, right? Me, myself, and I. Okay? There is no separation. There is nobody out there doing anything to any of us. There's only me here. I'm standing here hanging out with myself in all my different little beautiful aspects of myself from all over the globe. How exciting is that? Okay? Then we're going to drop. We're going to drop all judgments based on anything outside of us. I have a judgment. Oh, I feel safe, unsafe, and unloved. That's my only judgment, right? That's the only thing actually going on is I feel unsafe and unloved. Okay? And then we're going to roll with the situation. When someone wants to get your buy-in on something, extend love. Someone wants to convince you of something, extend love. Someone else is afraid or feeling unloved, extend love. That's our only job, right? Extend love. Remind yourself first and foremost, I am safe and I am loved. Our ego wants to go, let me extend love to them. That works great if you're looking in the mirror. Because really there's only me, so sure, I might say, oh, they are safe and they are loved. But the minute I catch myself saying they, turn it inside, right? They are safe and loved. We are safe and loved. I am safe and loved. Are there any chaplains, unity chaplains here, or folks who've gone through the chaplaincy training? I see a couple. Okay. So there's a song that they did in Florida for the chaplaincy training, because I don't know if it's like the Universal Unity Chaplaincy Training song or not, but it says, I love myself so much, so I can love you so much, so you can love you so much, so you can start loving me. So it doesn't, it's not like, oh, love me more. It's love me more. If I love myself so much that I'm willing to hold sacred space for myself, what happens to the world I see out there? It becomes more loving. I become less concerned about what someone else is or isn't doing. Am I doing what's right for me? And can I extend that love if someone asks me to? Like I took an Uber here, right? And there's a little pop-up thing that comes up and says, please put on your mask. So I got to the car. I said hello. We exchanged our names, so I knew I was getting in the right vehicle, outside my home, like someone else randomly would be driving up in a RAV4 with the same license plate numbers. And I just said to him, would you like me to put on a mask? He said, do whatever you'd like to do. He had his on. It was kind of below his nose and stuff. But every time I get in an Uber, or a Lyft rather, I always ask, because if it'll make someone else feel safe and loved, what do I care? Right? Can we make the choice for ourselves of what works best for us? a little short meditation. Does anybody want to hum some music? Or I could hum the I love myself so much and try and also do the meditation at the same time. No? I love myself so much, so I can love you so much, so you can love you so much, so you can start loving me. I love myself so much. Close your eyes if you want. So I can love you so much, so you can love you so much, so you can start loving me. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. I hear the piano playing. You want to play a little bit for me, and I'll. So close your eyes. I am loved. I am loved. Call up any situation in your life where you're experiencing any kind of tension, even the smallest bit of tension, and bring that truth into the situation. I am safe and I am loved. And if another person or organization or anything else outside of you pops into your head, see them. And again, say, I am safe. I am loved. Nothing outside of me can disturb the calm peace of my mind. I am safe. I am loved. And I love myself. I love myself unconditionally, completely. I embrace everything that makes me unique, because that is what makes my world unique. I am grateful. And I stand firm in the knowing that I am safe and I am loved. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Paula. As usual, a pleasure to have you with us. I know now it's time for us to take an offering for unity. So those joining us on Zoom, you can contribute on the livingwaterunity.org website. Just click donate in the button on the banner on the homepage. Our new address, which is in the newsletter and on the little announcement sheet I handed out, is Living Water Unity, Post Office Box 745783, Arvada, Colorado 80006. So I hope you can access that. So now, if you'll join with me as we take our offerings in our hands, we offer this blessing. Join me if you know it too. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love because I trust in God. And now it's time for Doug Roche to offer another tune for us as we take our offerings.
I'm going to continue with the autumn theme. This beautiful little ballad entitled Autumn Nocturne.
Once again, thank you, Doug. We're so happy to have you joining us here, even though we're seeing you on a screen and the others are just hearing you, but it's still great to have you here. Thank you.
Glad it's coming through in the
So now we'll bless our offerings. We dedicate these tithes to the will and the work of the one Spirit of truth, the Spirit that dwells in each of us, the Spirit that calls all of us. Amen. And thank you to everyone who worked so hard to get this put together. We are doing this live and working with limited equipment, and I thank you for pulling it up, so thanks for all your work. And now, we'll extinguish our candle. As we prepare to release our circle and extinguish this flame, we honor the divine light it represents, and we carry that light within us into the world to protect us, to illuminate us, and to guide our actions. So we aren't forming our usual circle, but we will be singing Let There Be Peace on Earth.